fuzzy facts. So, how can we get this to be a bit more interactive, a little bit more gamified? If we are looking at, say, webinar design, and just a quick show of hands, how many of you are using webinars in your teaching? Oh, not as many as I thought. Okay, less than half. Okay, interesting. All right. So those of you that are actually using webinars, have a look here. We've got a number of tools that we're actually using right now in here. And by the way, people can put in the text chat. Go, if you're logged in here, log in and put a comment, put a question. Remember, everyone can see it, so be careful. All right. And we'll use that to stimulate discussion inside the group. So you can be having a chat between each other while we're doing this keynote. But then also, we can have any of the questions that come up on that become a frequently asked questions resource later. So I can take that text and I can put it into our discussion board and use that as an additional resource. So we've got things like quizzes, text chats that we're just talking about, but there are other types of next generation tools that we can look at as well. How many of you, just a quick show of hands, how many of you are using online quizzes? How many of you are using online quizzes? Okay. Who makes the questions for the quiz? Who? So you're putting your hand up. Did you make the question?
Yes. So my quiz is my courses I make quizzes.
Okay. So it's top-down design for the instructional design because you're teaching it and you're making the assessment questions.
Yes.
Okay? Pretty much standard approach on the left-hand side. But if we're using that approach that I mentioned in the beginning, where you came up with the information about who I am, why not have the learners generate the quiz questions? You do that? Okay, yeah. I think in Moodle, they've actually got a plugin for that. So with the online quizzes, isn't it? Have you used it? So the learners can generate the quiz questions. Pass the authority over to them. Get them to write the questions. They have to come up with the answer and then justify it. They've got to be able to then say where is the exact web address or page in the text that they have to support why that's the correct answer. So learner-generated, shifting that responsibility. This is the next approach for gamification. Text chats, as we're mentioning, we can do things with tag clouds. I can take that text chat and turn it into a tag cloud. You'd be surprised sometimes. You think, well, actually, we're talking about learning design, but the word that comes up the most is management, for example. So, well, really, then maybe what we were talking about was management, not learning design. Simulations. There's a number of simulations that are out there that if people are interested in talking about that later on, I'm happy to talk about. But what we're going to be focusing on towards the end here is augmented reality and specifically QR codes. So those of you that have not yet installed your QR code readers, oh, she's fast. Look at that. She's already got it up there. Good. Come on, get those phones out. Come on, come on, come on. So if you have your mobile phone, you have your QR code reader, you should be able to scan this image. Or if it's on your laptop, you can take your phone and scan the QR code on the laptop. And what does that do? Has anyone made the link yet? What does it do? It brings you to a website. Just Google Sites. I just made a real quick web page on Google Sites. What's it say on there? Excellent, excellent. So there's within that website, there's a link to a YouTube video. Is that any of you had a look at it? What's it about? What's on the YouTube video? Yeah, there's a company that I work with in Central London called Amplified Robot that they do amazing things. And here are some samples that you can have a look at of the type of augmented reality that can be incorporated in your learning design. So we can have a play with gamification in a form of a treasure hunt. Those of you that know McLuhan, who says the medium is the message, is, I think, an important perspective in here, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to make the experience of looking more important than the actual information that comes out of it. Does that make sense? It's more the process than the product. So here are some other links that you can have a look at. But I'm going to challenge everyone then, before the end of the conference, to see if you can make your own QR code. All right? So there are a number of free websites that you can do temporarily, where you can have your own website or your university website or wherever that source of information that you want is. Go to a free online QR code generator, make that QR code, and then come up to me and say, quick, scan this, you can see what I've made. All right, so by the end of the conference, that's the challenge. I want you to try to make that. I was chatting with some people yesterday about this. How many of you, show of hands, have Microsoft Office? Microsoft Office, okay. How many of you have used the Office forms, where you do survey and questionnaires and quizzes? Yeah? Did you know that you can make a QR code from that? Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it? It's free and it's permanent. So using that, you can make your QR code within Office. You already have that facility. You don't need to go to an external source. So, QR code hunts. Have any of you heard of those before? QR code hunt? Anyone? No? Has anyone ever tried that? Nobody in the whole room has ever tried a QR code hunt? Oh, great. What, you're not sure what I mean by it? Okay.
So maybe
well, let's say, for example, that you have to do fire safety training in your organization, right? You have to, for part of your human resources requirements, you have to show that you know about fire safety. What kind of training do you usually do? Some kind of online linear design where you have to read some text, do a quiz, read some more text, do another quiz, then you get your little certificate that you can stick up on the wall, right? Now, a fire actually happens. Do you know where the hell the fire extinguisher is? No. So how good is that training, right? But what we can do is something referred to as alternative reality game theory, where we can mix the augmented reality with the real world. So in this type of design, what we could do is we could have the QR code on the fire extinguisher itself and say, go find the fire extinguisher. As part of your training, the instruction is, go into the office, find the fire extinguisher. Scan it, and then that will give you a code number that you can enter into the instruction to go on to the next level or whatever. Right? So, in this way, what you're doing is you're linking through the augmented reality in your instructional design, you're linking the instruction with the real world. So nobody's done a QR code hunt here. But you call it something different. Okay, all right, okay. If you do a search for QR code hunt in the Google, it comes up with lots of examples. So it is a pretty common term.
But it's also used for like repeating knowledge about.
Yep, it can.
You have to use it then.
Yeah. So it's like that application of absolutely. All right. So how are we doing time-wise?
So 15 minutes.
15 minutes left. Okay. really quickly then, let's shift a little bit of our focus into webinar elements. And some of the key things for webinars will be the technology, the media, the type of system features, the instructional design, and then an important element that I think is recording. So in this way, we're going to need some kind of system, some kind of platform. Those of you that had your hands up for Microsoft Office, how many of you have been using Skype? So hands up if you use Skype. So that's pretty common, isn't it? It comes with the package. It's got some good features. It's fairly reliable. Not too bad. But there are other products out there as well. How many of you have used Zoom, for example? Okay. Oh, quite a few Zoom users. All right. Okay. And this platform here, Adobe Connect. And I think here at the university you're using Adobe, aren't you? Yeah. So a few less fewer people with Adobe. Okay. All right, because I'm an international education leader, I'm kind of partial towards Connect myself. But there are a number of different platforms out there, and they have a number of different media types that you can use with it. Of course, we've got the video, we've got files that you can attach and use, we've got the text chat window. Still no one's putting any comments up in the text chat? This shy audience here. Shy audience. Come on, you guys have to do it now because, you know, you're the hosts, right? Lead by example. But I would argue that one of the most important elements of the webinar is the audio. I don't know if you've ever been in an audio where you spend the first 20 minutes of the webinar saying, "Can you hear me?" You know, and you write in the text, "I can't hear you," and you're going, "Can you hear me?" You know, so get the audio checked, get that done first. For example, I think we've got some people online right now. So if you can hear me and you're remote, go ahead and just say hello in the text box. We'll see if they're listening or they went out for a cup of tea. And for example, with Adobe, you can use the audio setup wizard. I always recommend that you try to do some kind of sound test beforehand. So these are some of the system features, but this is also linked to part of the instructional design that I encourage people to be thinking about, and that is what I refer to as the path model, pre, at, and post. So we've done a little bit of a pre, at, and post design for this Keynote speaking event right now because you're in the at stage. But beforehand, some of you went to my website, you read some of the things,